say something softly so that you can hear it yourself. And in the Bhagavad-gītā, Kṛṣṇa says in the 10th chapter that of all the sacrifices, Japa is the best. And we can consider why that is so. There are many different processes of devotional service that are easy to enter into. For instance, the Sunday feast or any type of prasadam. Anyone can do. Or we can walk in and dance in kīrtana. Even if we don't know much about Krishna consciousness, lots of people do that. But to deliberately take time to use your own voice and your time to commune with God by saying His name over and over again is unique. And therefore it's the only vow that Prabhupada asked us to do. There's other things he said, don't do. But this is the only one thing he said, you make a vow. The word devotee actually means one who makes a vow. Voto. Voto comes from the word, or voto, or the word vow comes from voto, devoto. And the word vrata is the origin of that you make a vow. So, vows make the world go round. In fact, as we can see in some countries, there is a way in which people draw up a constitution, but it's all dependent on people agreeing to do it. If people say, no, I'm not going to do that, then ultimately it just doesn't hold together. So the world's held together by vrata, and our lives are held together by our vrata. So, etan nirvidyabananam ichatam akatobayam yoginam nripanirnitam harer namanu kīrtanam. This vow to do the names of Hari, Krishna, is already vetted. Says Shukadeva Goswami, you can count on it that every single great teacher has said this is the clear path for everybody, and it doesn't matter if you're a king or an enunciate or a school child. I don't know what a school child is. Somebody who goes to school. And so this is the place to make the vow that holds everything else together. We will have other vows we have to make in our life, but the Shastra says, Krishna says, that there's no vow more important than keeping japa. And if you think about it, it's the one time when we put everything else aside, ideally, I mean that's the point, and have private time with Suhrit. Krishna's our best friend. He's always been with us, he always will be with us. And no one else can claim that. Other people come and go. So it's the time that we could show our appreciation for our best friend who always stays with us in our hearts by keeping this clear vow. And if we do this one thing properly, all other things will fall into place in the proper way. Shri Harinam Ki Jai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a prayer that's offered by the demigods to Lord Krishna within the womb. And they say, Tvayambu Jaksha Kila Sattvadamni Samadhina Veshita Cheta Saike Tvatpada Potena Mahakritena Kurvanti Govatsa Padam Bhavabdim. And they say that the whole process of spiritual life is to give one's full attention to that person who's the source of everything. And they say, feel free to be absorbed. Come to the point of samadhi. Sama means completely, dhi means to focus your attention. And then they say, Tvatpada potena mahakritena, the best way to advance in spiritual life is to follow the Mahat, the great practitioners of bhakti, the acharyas who have set the standard. And then kurvanti govatsapadam bhavadim means that the ocean of material existence that we now are awash in shrinks down to the size of a water contained within the hoofprint of a calf, and we can step over it. So the best way to make a vow is to find out what the best vow is and then hold on to it. So as I mentioned in the first segment, all the great acharyas have confirmed the best vow is to chant Krishna's names. And the samadhi means to focus one's mind fully on Krishna, is completed through the process of chanting Japa, based on the Srimad Bhagavatam's teaching that there's no difference at all between Krishna and his name. So I have a question that we can talk about for about 3 minutes, and that is, how have you felt by keeping your vow? In other words, perhaps you didn't have time, but you kept your vow to chant anyway. And how did it make you feel? Was there a struggle to get started and then it felt better later? Was it harder in the beginning, middle, or end? Any feelings you've had in keeping the vow of chanting Japa? And how many ever rounds you're chanting now? Go ahead, Kotakarna. Yes.
To remember.
Can you just start over?
It takes some getting used to that. I had to set a clock on my phone to do it on cue, right? But I enjoy it. It pulls me out of my head and back into the world, I believe. Sorry.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, to be perfectly honest, at first, I feel a little ridiculous, and people look at me funny. But yeah, I'm getting used to it. Yeah.
You know, in Japan, not during pandemic time, but at all times, a lot of people wear masks. I mean, you can go there any time of year, and you'll see on the train at least 25% of the people wearing masks, because if they get the slightest sniffle, they put a mask on to protect the rest of society. And there's a devotee there who commutes every day, and she chants her japa on the train because it's a 2.5-hour commute. So she said it's a boon to be in a country where you can wear a mask, because she puts her mask on, and then she puts earplugs in, and then she puts her hand underneath her cloth, and she just chants, and no one can tell she's chanting. But it's true. It's like if people see you chanting, they think you're talking to yourself or something like that.
A little bit, yeah. You kind of get looked at as weird. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Clay. And we have Sukeshwari. I can tell.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was just thinking that when I first started chanting, I was in college. I remember I would walk between patients, clinics. I have my counter in my hand, and I won't talk to anybody. I'll just finish one round, because it was so hard by the end of the day to even, and of course I didn't have the habit of getting up in the morning when I started. So there was so much work, and then I would just go up and down. And then as time went by, as you said, I would actually, when I lived in DC, I would actually chant in the train while going to work. And the good thing was nobody really, so when several people asked me, what's the bead bag or what am I doing? So I would just tell them, and then I continued to chant. I had an hour of drive. But as time went by, Krishna's mercy, I have this habit of getting up in the morning and finishing my rounds. So I think it has been it just evolved in the way I'm chanting. So yeah, I think, of course, keeping association of devotees has helped enormously.
Oh, thank you very much. How does it feel to complete your vow of chanting? Do you feel better, worse? Yes.
Hare Krishna. I feel content, like being able to complete the rounds in the morning, and I feel that that spiritual strength, like yoga balayan, it's growing. So every time when I'm able to complete my vows, so I feel that it's growing, and it gives more enthusiasm to continue. Also.
Nice, good to know. Aparagarangi.
I had a similar point that when we are not able to keep our vow, it actually makes us very morose. But when we're able to keep our vow, it enlivens us and gives us the momentum to continue and do it even more.
Thank you. So that just to reiterate the point about that the demigods make in their prayer, they say the best kind of vow is finding out what the great teachers of bhakti do and recommend, and then following that. So in the context of our practice, devotees aspire to come to the level of chanting 16 rounds, because this is what was prescribed by the acharya. Acharya means the main teacher of a particular branch of the bhakti movement. So Srila Prabhupada is the acharya who sets the example and the standards for our branch of the Krishna consciousness movement, which is a vast movement with many branches like a tree. And so when we follow that, when we're able to come to that level, then we're in synchronicity with the teachings, and that's why one makes rapid advancement by holding on to that vow, and it moves all other things out of the way when we make room for that. Other things meaning bad habits. Okay, and Ashok Kṛṣṇa Prabhu for the close.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. I was just thinking about like the commitment to make the vow, and like unless you have made that commitment, you don't prioritize that other things with that, right? And so like with me, like the work always comes with that, right? Or other responsibilities. But now after getting initiated and having taken that vow, you think about how can I organize my work or other responsibilities around this. So this takes priority with that. So I think that has been the mind, like a paradigm shift or a mind shift with that. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yes, that's an extremely important point. And we have this saying, your pledge is your wedge. So a wedge is one of the most important tools in human society. It has a small end and a big end. It seems simple, but it has been integral in all the different aspects of human society. And so when you push the small end in, you say, make a vow that's something more than 0 and not less than 1. Then you've pushed the small end into your life. And then if you keep applying pressure, it opens up a space. As Ashok Kṛṣṇa Prabhu was saying, then that holds the space. And when everything else is secondary and works around that, then all the other things become more successful also, because you have that foundation that you've created by putting the wedge in, and that starts with a vow, which also starts with a V, and a V is a wedge. You can remember it like that. Gaur Premanande Haribol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. When I was on a flight from San Francisco to New York not too long ago, and I was sitting in my seat, I had my hand counter for counting how many mantras I was doing, and there was a couple sitting next to me, and they were watching me for most of the flight with my thumb hitting them. And sometimes I would be sitting there with my eyes closed, and they said, when we were landing, excuse me, I hope you don't mind us asking, but we noticed that you're counting something. What are you doing? And I said, oh yeah, this is my hand counter. I'm counting my blessings. And they looked at the number and they said, wow. And so we can think of every mantra we do as a blessing in our life, and it's inviting Krishna to just bless us unlimitedly. Lots of times people say, can you give blessings? But they're ours to accept constantly by keeping the holy name going. And we can see how many blessings we have in our life and how we've opened ourselves to those by how we keep a number. Sankhya Purvaka, find a number that you can stay steady at and keep it. And try to come eventually in your life to the 16, at least 16 rounds, and keep that steadily. Then you're following the footsteps of the Acharya, and that brings great spiritual strength. Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you, everybody. It was a very powerful session having so many devotees from all over the world chanting Japa together. Vanja Kalpataruscha Kripa Sindhi Vajja.